Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Frantastic Stories. I am here with Lianne. Please correct my pronunciation, could be wrong.
You did it great.
Thank you. With Lianne and Corey from Forever Break. And I am so stoked to have you guys. So we had previously a little bit of a chat before this interview, and they're amazing. And I think they have so much to share with you guys, and I really can't wait to kick it off. So I pass it on to you, Lianne and Corey, like if you guys want to introduce yourself and a little bit what you have been up to.
Yeah, hi. So first of all, thank you so much for having us. It's our honor and lovely to hear a new voice amidst all of this pandemic stuff.
And a really nice accent.
Yes.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're both travelers, and we started a new podcast called the Forever Break podcast, where we kind of talk about traveling, mindfulness, and just general lifestyle things. And in our first season, we concentrate on mindfulness, which was the biggest journey for us. So very much from scratch learning everything from scratch. We didn't know what to expect. And yeah, we've enjoyed it, and it's been a journey.
Podcast has been out for about a month now. It seems to be getting some good traction, but I think that we benefited a little bit from the whole pandemic thing. We landed some pretty great interviews with some people that maybe in regular times we might not have been able to get. So happy to be here with you, Robin, and looking forward to a good chat.
Nice. Lovely. Yeah, definitely. There's some pros of getting some time, right? Having a little bit more time to go into hobbies and finding out how to talk to people in ways that maybe we wouldn't think otherwise, right? Just get on a Zoom call or something.
Well, that's it, right? And it's really interesting for us from going as interviewers to interviewees as well. You just kind of like realize all these different things, that how we speak to each other and how you interview someone is actually kind of different, which is weird. I guess I babble on a little bit as well, so we had to really learn how to stop babbling.
It can happen. We're all guilty of it, but we'll try and keep it short, but get our points across.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel you. And bubbling is so natural.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's also because you guys are bubbly. Like I don't see you, but I feel you're bubbly beings.
Thanks. We feel that too.
And actually, so you mentioned that your first season is about mindfulness. And this was one of the things I wanted to really talk with you guys, because I'm interested a little bit about your journey, like how and when did you start? Why did you start this mindfulness journey? And I don't know, maybe you had different journeys, right? I mean, being two different people. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of background on that and story on that, I think it would be cool.
Yeah, I think the idea for the podcast came to be like late in 2019, and it was to be geared towards travel. So we took the first 3 months of 2.5 months of 2020, and we're putting together a season based on travel through Southeast Asia, because we've both got experience through there. It was going to line up with the website and articles that we had going, but then a pandemic hits, and you're thinking in your head like, we're not going to wave out all these beautiful destinations in Thailand and Bali and Malaysia, and people can't actually physically go and do them. So why would we put that in front of people? So we sat down with our producer, Josh, and brainstormed and came up with the idea of doing a podcast like season about mindfulness. So we wanted to cover a bunch of different topics, and which we did, from exercise to eating to just sound healing, all these things that we didn't really know about, that were just became things that we learned so much about. So it was very different for both of us. For me, I think some of these things I had put into practice in my life, but I don't want to speak for Lianne, but she probably had a little bit longer journey than me.
Oh, completely. That's a very under exaggeration. I've never meditated. I've tried, and just things like that, or even just the general idea of what mindfulness is. I think I had this image of it being something that only, a percentage of people were attuned into, and I didn't really understand it. It's not for me.
Energies and chakras.
And exactly. And it was something that I never really thought about. And you know what? It's not all about just crystals and things like that. It's just being mindful of what you're doing. And
Robin, it would crack me up, because as soon as we got going on the interviews and putting together these episodes, we would be talking, and all of a sudden Lianne would start throwing words and little things around that I hadn't heard her say before. Like, just like being mindful about that, you know, I'm just trying to be mindful about what I'm eating and things like that. And I was just like, who are you?
Yeah. So it's definitely for the listeners, if anyone's listening and they're kind of like, well, that's not really my cup of tea. Guys, it wasn't mine either, but I've tried it and it's been really beneficial, and it's really opened my eyes into stuff. And I just find we get more out of our everyday lives by being more mindful now, which I didn't know before. No.
Yeah, certainly enriches it. And I would say like our last kind of point here would be to say that I think if you go through the 14 episodes of the season and you kind of take your time and listen to it, we don't want to preach to people, because obviously we're not experts in these. We kind of acted as acting participants, like audience members. And I just think that by the time you go through it, if you go through enough time thinking about mindfulness, it'll just kind of naturally happen. Like, it just kind of plants the seed, and then you just start viewing things and thinking about things a little bit differently. So I think it's a really healthy exercise.
Interesting you say that, how difficult it is almost to start it, but once you start and you realize the actual meaning of what mindful is to you, then it seems to really be part of your daily life, and it's not as hard. I think for me, I don't know, my mind is a freaking monkey, and it doesn't get up, and it's so hard, and sometimes I'm like, like focus, and then it's like, nope, stop working. But yeah, I think definitely this advice, and knowing that, you know, you had the same experience at first, it's kind of gives me hope that I can be more mindful. I like to embrace it, but I find it hard to integrate it with a daily life. And in fact, I was wondering how, once you started, and how, you know, making it part of your life now, how does it affect it, and how does it affect your travels, or what you do and how you see things?
Yeah, so in regards to the travel aspect, it's something that I guess people have been practicing without meaning to, because there's so many times in travel where you're kind of, you know, you're thrown challenges and curveballs all the time. You kind of have to adapt. And I think the way that I would describe me noticing mindfulness, now that I've learned what it is, and I've learned how it's relevant to not only travel, but everyday life, I think it's that, just like that calm, and that just, okay, well, this is that. And just recognizing a pattern, whether it's an unhealthy pattern, a healthy pattern. In regards to the food, for example, I've been really concentrating a lot more of what I'm actually eating, because of all the research and all of the professional that we spoke to on our food.
And let's add a little caveat to this. Lianne does have some stomach issues, and she's got a very limited she can eat anything, but she suffers for it. So I feel really badly for her, because she just has some stomach stuff that most of us don't have to deal with. So for her, being a mindful eater is really beneficial.
Oh, completely. And yeah, it's just like with everyday relationships. It's funny you actually mention your mind as being a monkey, because one of the doctors that we spoke to for love and relationships on that episode, she said that the law of attraction, and she described it as a monkey and feeding the monkey. And it's really interesting that you made that connection without even meaning to.
Yeah, there's a couple other examples that I can give that I've taken from doing the season that we did, and that's the episode that we did on mindful exercise. And it's like, I've always been someone who goes in and exercises. That's not a problem for me. It's just something that's ingrained in me. I'm very fortunate to have that be a part of who I am. But now if I'm doing a specific lift or a specific workout, somewhat like the person that we talked to, who actually was a friend of Lianne's, said, just think about that muscle group or that whatever part of the body is that you're working on while you're doing that exercise, and you're going to see results happen a little bit faster. And I don't know if that's happening over time, but I really kind of believe that that's true. I mean, if you're thinking about it, you have your mind and your body working together, focusing on the same thing. It just kind of makes sense that would happen. And the same kind of thing with eating. I mean, a lot of people, I think, I have a good friend of mine who says, like, I just eat because I need fuel to get from A to B. And so food is just like something that's just substance. It's just fuel for him. But if you sit down and you just relish every bite. You find gratitude that you have a nice meal in front of you, and you try and pick out the different flavors and seasonings and stuff and really take your time with it. You can just enjoy your meals that much more. And why not do that?
Yeah, yes. I am absolutely, I mean, you know, culturally.
The Italians are good at that, Robin.
I was going to say, his friend's American that's like that. I'm like, oh, we're speaking to an Italian lady. She's like, no, this is ingrained in my culture. It's amazing. It's passion.
Yeah, the food is definitely seen not just as fuel.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy it. You gotta give yourself that treat, right? But it's great. And to be honest, I love your vision on it, right? I think sometimes mindfulness is a little bit hard to grasp because, as you said, I loved how you said it, Lianne, like it's crystals and I don't know what, and we it's like, what, really? But I think what you're conveying here and your message is that it's something very relatable and something very useful, and it's not just about, you know, you don't even have to maybe be in that sense spiritual or have to connect it to, you know, just a religious vision, which is something that some people have, some people don't, but it's almost just human, as you say. You know, just being conscious, like actively understanding, actively appreciating the present and what you're doing and what you're doing to your body, right?
Right. And you're just getting more out of your life, and you're the only person that's going to get something out, you know, well, not the only person, but you know, you're the main character in your life. If you're present in your life, you're experiencing so much more and you're getting more out of it, which is something that I've kind of gathered from it, which is, I'm so wise now.
Yeah. You made it. You went through the test. You passed. So guys, being mindful makes you just so wise.
It does. Yeah, it's just that easy.
Just so easy. And how long? So your journey, more or less, it sounds like you started at different times, but like that you've fully practiced mindfulness and that you feel it started made a difference. So when did you start, and when did you start feel it was really starting to impact your life?
So I've done it in a few different phases. I think one of the first major things that I saw is I was in a prior life, I was a real estate agent in Colorado. And I worked for a really great company that liked to talk about these kinds of things. And one of the things that we did at the beginning of, I can't remember what year it was, but it was like 2016 or something like that, is we said, okay, let's everybody just write down your financial goal for the year as if it already happened. And what we're going to do for the month of January is every morning you wake up while you're having a cup of coffee or whatever you're doing, you write it down. You write the sentence 25 times, but you don't write it as if it's going to happen. You write it as if it's already happened. And if you do that 25 times for a day, like write it 25 times, 30 days out of the month, we'll see what happens. And we all kind of did it. And then the next thing that I did was I wrote a letter to my mom, and in the letter, I put in that financial goal, and I gave her that letter. And then I told her, like, you can't open this until like I'm back home for Christmas next year. And then we'll sit down and we'll read the letter together and see how I did. And I had forgotten about it by that time. And then we sat down and we read the letter, and I was within like a couple $100 of the number that I wrote down. It wasn't just like some random number. It was a very specific number. And I was so close to it. And that was like something that just kind of triggered this thing in my head of, wow, this kind of stuff is powerful. Like the mind is a really powerful thing. And I think we got to tap into it. So I started thinking more about it. And that kind of led me down the path of learning about gratitude and starting to wake up and think about things that I could be grateful for before I started my day, because it's harder to have a bad day if you start it with a mindset of gratitude. But then getting through this season of podcasting, it's just opened up a ton more ideas. And I think more so just regular habits. Just there's so many things that you can walk around and just be like, wow, that just feel that breeze. That just feels so good. How lucky are we to be in like a nice temperature like that right now? And just these little moments of mindfulness and gratitude that you can have, that as long as you're practicing it, I really think it can enrich your life. And it has for me for a few years now, but I think, Lianne, you've been a little bit different.
Yeah. Corey's journey's been obviously a bit more spread out than mine. And I think I've inadvertently practiced mindfulness without even realizing it. I think maybe perhaps, again, from being a traveler and just meeting people all the time, you are very socially attuned to other people and picking up on people's feelings. And obviously you are in a small space or in stressful situations with complete strangers. So I feel like you have to be really respectful and stuff to other people. And I think after learning about what mindfulness is,
Robin, it's like Inception. She had to be mindful of
about
her
my mindfulness.
There's
I
just
know, right?
layers on this.
Mind blown.
Mind blown. Exactly. But it wasn't until after we'd done like the research and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, so that's what that is. It's just being aware. And I think, so what, we started doing all of this work in March, April.
Yeah, it was like late April, early March.
So I think
Or
that's
opposite.
when I, one or the other. But that's when I kind of started realizing it. And I think now today, with obviously there's this huge civil rights movement that's happening. There's the whole COVID thing that's been happening. I think we just now have more time to be aware. And I'm really questioning things that I wouldn't have earlier have questioned, which I think, yeah, okay, this is what it's being, I don't know, the journey.
The journey continues as well, eh?
The journey continues.
With new challenges. That's beautiful. That's great. I really love to hear it, and I really love to hear that two different stories, two different journeys about mindfulness, and it really shows how different a journey can be and what different meanings it has for each person, right? And you need to find that meaning to properly become mindful in a way that works, right? So I guess my next question is, why is mindfulness important to you, and what is your one thing that you like, I never want to go back to not being mindful about it, whether it's food for your stomach, Lianne,
yeah,
or,
thanks.
muscle for the gains, I don't know, but why is it become important to you, and also what is that one thing you would not give up?
I would say really simply being more mindful just in general about life, like taking those moments and just recognizing what you have or what you want to try and improve or all that kind of thing. Just anything like that, just taking like some time and just slowing down with how fast and crazy life can get is just so important. And I just think it can enrich your life so much. And I firmly believe that. And then the one thing that I would tell somebody to do to start out that I just firmly believe in is gratitude. Is just absolutely trying to build a practice of thinking about what it is that you can be grateful for, because that can, if you're a glass half empty kind of person, and you start doing a gratitude practice, I firmly believe that you can switch it into a glass half full. Like, I just think that mindset thing is something that is so important. And there's a lot of terrible things that happen in the world all the time. And you can sit there and focus on those. You can focus on the things that you don't have, on the things that other people have more of than you, or you can just be like, wow, I'm really grateful for what I have and where I'm at and who I am, and come from that place. And that to me is absolutely the foundation of this. Yeah.
And I think what stems from that as well is how you're going to treat those around you, which I really am a firm believer of.
The golden rule.
Exactly. But it's true. It's like you harness that kind of energy, and without sounding too out there and stuff. But I think once you start to realize how good you have something, then that happiness kind of comes out of you. And I think, wouldn't the world just be such a more pleasant place if everyone was just really conscientious of each other and really happy and content with one another?
Oh yeah, golden words right there. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep.
Have you practiced much mindfulness, Robin? I'm curious if you've got any stories for us.
Yeah, as I said, I'm bad at it. As in, I've started actually, if you want to call it a journey, when I was at uni, I studied psychology. So I was in the faculty of behavioral and social sciences, which is amazing when you're a student, because you have a bunch of research and studies that need people, and then they pay you. So sometimes I would participate in some studies for some cash, which as you know, a student is never too much. So that's how I ended up. That's probably my best period of mindfulness was when I participated in a meditation study. And it basically was for a month, and I had to sort of keep a journal. So it kind of related to what you said, Corey, like with the gratitude, with, you know, writing down what you're grateful for. So we had to do that, and then we had to take, didn't matter how many minutes, it did not matter at all. Could be 10, could be 15, could be even 2 or 3 minutes. And then we would just sit and like open eyes or closed eyes, but at least a little bit of the day to just try to not think of anything and try to be very present. And I think that's what really got me. I was like, I thought meditation was almost like, you know, going out of your brains or something. I don't know how to explain it, but and then I realized that it's actually the opposite, and it's about being present and being more aware of what is around you and the feeling of being alive, right? And I think for a month I felt it much more. Sometimes I was like biking, and all of a sudden, as you said, Lianne, sometimes you're just mindful without noticing. And I think that's what happened after that study. I was cycling, and then all of a sudden I would tame my mind, and then I was really feeling, you know, the trees on the side or the dog walking by. And then just for a few minutes, I never can concentrate for too long, or not concentrate, but I can never stay calm for too long. As I said, the monkey's there.
The monkey needs his banana.
Exactly. The monkey's like, hey, pay attention. Hey.
Come on.
Give me something. But I think that's how it started, and that's how I've been trying. I think I've been bad about it, as in I took less time of my day to give to mindfulness, but this is how I started to be interested in it and really understand a little bit more of what it is, right? It's not just crystals, it's not trying to be transcended or something. It's actually very, very concrete and very life usable.
Yeah, and it's also very different per person, right? One person's mindfulness might be something completely different to another person. It's all finding out what you're, you know, different strokes for different folks.
And I think what you said regarding the meditation is another theme that we kind of realized as we were talking to some of these experts in our season was, I think a lot of people get really hard on themselves. If somebody wants to jump into a meditation practice, they'll all of a sudden be like, okay, well, I've got to sit down and in darkness with my eyes closed with a like nice little mantra going for an hour. And it's like, no, like, and this guy that we talked to gave a really great example. He goes, you don't go from couch to marathon. He's like, you build your way up to being able to like exercise for that long and run for that long. So he's like, if you just can sit down and meditate for 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever it might be, that's fine. Just build on that and just keep going. And don't beat yourself up. If you are having a ton of success with it and then you have a couple bad days in a row, that's okay. And I think that that's one of the things that is a really great theme that came out of this was, I think people really tend to punish themselves when they don't have to. And we learned about that and try not to do that to ourselves.
Actually, that's really nice to hear. Yeah, I think I'm one of those. I think I tend to be like, oh, I should try this harder, but you're right. And you're right, especially about the fact that it works differently. I forgot, you said a saying, strokes, people.
Different strokes for different folks.
There you go. I don't know how you got that. My explanation was super bad. I don't know how you got that's what I meant.
No, it wasn't.
That's perfect. See, don't beat yourself up, Robin.
Don't beat yourself up.
I love this free mindfulness lesson. But yeah, no, because for example, what I learned is I'm very active. I love sports, and sometimes just doing exercise, working out, that's for me, that's me time. And that's a way that I feel I am sort of being mindful, meditating. Like I just don't think of anything. I'm very like focusing on my body and focusing on just without having those extra thoughts or anything. So I do think it doesn't have to do, as you said, it doesn't have to be an hour sitting down, having a mantra and not moving and closed eyes. It can also be, you know, maybe you are somebody who's mindful or meditates with open eyes and moving. I mean, that's also a thing, right?
Well, that's something we did when we were in India. When we did it before Christmas. We went to a, how do I say that word? I can't say it. Ayurvedic. I can't say the word. It begins with
That's
an A.
okay. We went to a meditation retreat.
We went to a meditation retreat. And it was just something that I'd never tried before. You tried meditation once or twice?
I've dabbled in it, but never really anything too serious.
And the way that our teacher, Karen, she was awesome. And just the way that she did it, it was, 20 minutes in the morning, you go at sunrise and you'd sit for 20 minutes and basically you would be present, but you would just listen to around you. If your mind wandered, that was okay. Just bring it back and just concentrate on what was around you. And then we would walk around for 10 minutes.
Do 20-minute walk-in meditation.
20 minutes as well. There we go. I should have fact-checked myself. 20 minutes of walking, and then we'd go back down and sit down for another 20 minutes on the ground. And, this was just something that we really enjoyed the experience. Wouldn't change it for the world, but it was just something that I got the giggles. Like, I was trying not to giggle. We couldn't look at each other when we were walking around.
The best thing is, like, after we get done, and so we're doing this for an hour total, twice a day for 3 days. So it was not too intense, but, to jump into it as first timers, essentially, it was quite a bit. And after the first day, the first session, we're walking back to our, where we were staying. And I was just like, oh my God, I just could not make eye contact with you, or else I would have just busted out laughing, especially during the walking meditation, because it just felt really cultish.
Yeah.
And we were just like, it was just so goofy. And Lianne goes, you don't know, but there was just a competition going on. And
I won.
And I won. And I was like, what are you talking? She was like, I was sitting so still, and all I wanted to do was itch or like swat a mosquito off of me or all these things, but I refused to move before you.
I love this. Like, by the way, I won. Just FYI.
Yeah. She's like, there's this huge competition that you absolutely have no knowledge of, but you lost.
You have great potential, but you're not the winner, I'm afraid.
I like that. Totally agree with that. Good spirit.
Yeah. I was trying to keep my mind off of the mosquitoes eating me. I was watching them bite me, and I was like, no, I'm just supposed to sit here and just let them bite me. I'm looking at Corey like, he's not moving.
So competition made you mindful in that moment.
Yeah.
It did. I really like sports as well. I'm very competitive, so it's mostly with myself.
Yeah,
now I'm with Corey. I have a contender every now and then.
I snuck in bug spray, so I had a little ace up my sleeve.
Smart. I love that. Yeah, competitive with yourself, just wanting to get always better and better. And being at the best, right? So it's still healthy competition. Yeah, and I'm curious, so. You said you were in India and you did the meditation. Is that the place where you feel you have a stronger but you have a stronger experience in mindfulness / meditation, or is there another place where it comes up in your mind? Kind of trying connecting, like, where you've been, your travels, and mindfulness.
I think that's a really good question. I think that most people can probably relate to this. I think whether you're working a ton and you've got 2 weeks vacation a year and you go to, an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, or you're able to go backpack for a year, or any sort of level of travel, right? Once you get away from your normal, whatever it is that you do day to day, you tend to be more mindful. You enjoy that sunset. You're just like, oh my God, this meal is just unbelievable. And you start touching on these ideas of mindfulness that I don't think you do in your normal life, because there's probably a lot of times when people are driving home from their day at work when there's just this amazing sunset that's happening, but all they're thinking about is, what did I just do with my day? What do I have to do tomorrow? And what am I expecting to happen when I open up that door and I get home? And so they're not recognizing it. And I think it's those types of things that can happen when you incorporate travel into your world. And that's why it's so important to get away, because it kind of centers you. So I think everybody experiences mindfulness. They're just not totally aware of it in their day-to-day lives.
Love that. I really agree. Yeah, I can really relate with that. I think
I just came up with that.
You just
you have to quote it. Corey Flanagan, 2020.
Just winging it,
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, like, well said. To be honest, I think when you're exposed to a new environment, it kind of almost comes natural to, and without the stress of work and whatever people go through on a daily basis, it just almost comes more natural, like, to just appreciate. Where you're like, oh, the waves, oh, the sun, the beach, or because you're there to enjoy, and your mindset is completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of like how mindfulness and travel kind of so entwined. And it's, taking all of that ideas. Okay, not everyone can travel all the time, and sadly we can't always be on vacation. And it's like finding that what grounds you in that time and bringing it to your everyday life. It's not something that just has to be, for the travel focus for everybody. It's just something that can really ground people and say, okay, well, what am I grateful for today? Or, it's just making it a more normal routine.
Yeah. An applause for this, guys. You said it so well. I love it. And I love this connection, travel, mindfulness, and yeah. Oh God, travel. Actually, talking about travel, I'm like, I really miss it.
I know. I know. I think everyone's waiting for that moment that we can all get on a plane again.
And that's interesting, Robin, because you're obviously out of your country. You're in Canada, and you are still feeling like you're like, I still want more. And I think that's a really interesting thing. I mean, I love that. That means you've got the travel bug, which is fantastic. And you're just like, all right, what's next?
Yeah. So this is a safe circle. I actually have an addiction. It's called traveling.
We're all signed up for that, AA.
My name is Robin. I haven't traveled in 3 months and 6 minutes.
Yep. My name's Lianne. I'm an addict too.
Yeah. Yay, we're building a community of travel addicts.
Yeah. Right.
It's so true though. And I think it is because of that bubble like you kind of have when you're, whether, as you said, different levels of travel. Like I personally love like backpacking, but even just going on a vacation, like wherever people prefer, like a villa or whatever suits them, right? But it is still a bubble, and it does get addictive because you just learn how amazing it is to live that way, how amazing it is to keep on meeting new people, and how many great things are out there, like from nature to cities to random encounters. I think it's hard. I think when you get a taste of it, I think everybody ends up being an addict.
Yeah, that's it. It's life. And it's actually something, because we're headed back to the UK in 2 weeks. And I haven't been back to the UK for an extended period of time in 6 years. So it's going to be really interesting because Corey's never been back there. And for me, that's very much like, oh, it's home, it's boring, whatever. And I think it's going to be really enlightening to go back there now and see it in the eyes of, number one, being more mindful. And then number two is like, okay, well, I can't travel right now. So how about I bring that joy that traveling gives me back to home, And so it's going to be an interesting journey, isn't it?
Especially during a pandemic.
Yeah, but hey, you sound like you have a lot of joy to spread. So that's amazing. And that you can go back home and spread a little bit of that in these times as well. And what is the first thing you're going to do and make Corey do when you land in England? What are you going to be like, okay, you have to do this. Follow me.
Quarantine.
We have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Damn it.
Gosh, I don't
after
actually
14 days.
Sorry, just a smart ass.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to think of the most British food that I can give him. We get a lot of stick about having bad food in England, so I'm gonna have to get some good food, because what, English food is quite bad, but there's some really good golden things in there that tourists don't know about. So like a nice roast beef dinner with Yorkshire puddings.
I'm getting elbowed right now. I think that if I can just throw an idea out there during this during this quarantine, she has pretty much turned my Netflix account into a British Netflix account, which is great. I've learned a lot, and I've seen a lot of stuff but Peaky Blinders is something that we've been totally through and gotten caught up with. And because we're going to do our quarantine with her brother in Birmingham, if I said that like an American, I apologize. I think that we're going to have to go and check out some of the Peaky Blinders bars and things like that. That would be nice for me if they're open. They're supposed to open on July 4th or something like that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
That is a nice, solid plan. Yes.
Thank you.
I love her, like, I've been elbowed, and meanwhile, like, she's priming you with all the British stuff. And
Okay.
She's probably having a competition too right now. Like, ooh, who can eat more Yorkshire pudding? And it's like,
right.
Probably win it too, right?
You'll know. I'll send you a picture of me with a Yorkshire pudding crown on,
Oh, please do. Oh my God. We actually have been, there's an Irish and Scottish shop here that has all the things imported from Europe. Well, I guess Scotland is in Europe, but you know what I mean. Anyway, besides all
this whole Brexit thing,
Exactly.
Who knows what to say anymore?
It's like, what do you say? Like, I'm so used to it.
Right.
And they have this like powders to make Yorkshire pudding, and absolutely bought that and pies. Actually, yeah.
Pie.
Yeah, that's another that I was thinking. I was like, oh, maybe like a nice pie would be another good thing. Fish and chips and cheese, whatever.
I like it. You've been to England. Cheesy chips with gravy on top.
Do you have them in Birmingham? You said Birmingham, right?
Yeah, Birmingham. I've only ever been to Birmingham because I'm from the north of England originally, closer to Liverpool. But then my brother moved down to Birmingham, so I'm pretty sure they've got everything there. Though we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. It's a big city, so.
Oh my God, Liverpool! Oh, just been there. When was that? Last October. Loved it.
Really did.
Oh God,
good.
The pubs and stuff. Oh, yeah.
It was a fun city.
Yeah.
It's not as expensive and as like very real, which is nice.
I was just like,
we're gonna try and zigzag over it. I mean, we can't fly into Scotland right now. Scotland and England aren't really on the same page, so we've got to figure out a unique way. So we've got a
because my mum lives in Scotland, so we're gonna go visit her.
Yeah, Lianne's sister-in-law is trying to help us out with finding a nice little travel van so that we can maybe throw a mattress in the back and do a little road trip up to Scotland. So fingers crossed that works out.
Oh my God. Fingers, toes, elbows crossed. That would be so cool.
Right?
Such a nice journey to follow. You have to absolutely post about it. I'm guessing are you making a second season, or actually, yeah, what is your plan next? I mean, with all this coming up.
So we're kind of in the works of thinking about that right now, but we're still not ready to put out travel podcasts. We have this episode on Southeast Asia kind of in the bag, just kind of waiting to be recorded. It's all fully outlined and everything. But we've been going back and forth, and I think probably towards the middle to end of July, we'll start season 2, which I think we're going to start working on topics about sustainable living. Whether it's just like how to be sustainable at home, how to do sustainable travel, thinking about how to bring in more natural energies into your house, like the idea of solar panels and stuff, 5 to 10 years ago was such a expensive thing that it didn't really make sense, but now it's to the point where it makes complete sense and more people should be aware of that and hopefully trying to do it. So we're going to brainstorm on ideas like that and hopefully get some good guests and learn a bunch about that as well. And then about that time, we should be getting to Scotland to stay with Lianne's mom and probably annoy her with all of these amazing ideas that we have.
Yeah.
Family brainstorm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing. I am so excited for your journeys, like literal journeys, as in being in a van going around, as well as continuing this mindfulness journey and the podcast. I mean, it's so much fun, and having guests, especially they're like you guys, it's a lot of fun. So
thank you. We've really enjoyed this as well. It's been a lot of fun speaking to you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I'm like, stop it, guys. Come to Canada. What are you doing?
We'd love to come back.
We can't pretty much because of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your fault. It's all your fault. Okay.
Good, Corey.
But yeah, I don't know if you've been to the East, as well as you were mentioning earlier that you've been to the West. That's where you guys met. So, if you ever need to go to the East, come say hi. Bring you around.
Hey, we will.
The patios are still open, so can have one, couple of drinks on the patio and chill.
I was going to say one. Come on, we're going to have more than one if we do.
And I think you are also kind of the types that also like to stay for a while in a place and really, cherish and discover it, right?
Exactly.
Ideally, yeah.
You get too tired doing fast traveling. I feel like when you do the fast-paced travel, you just don't get to really relate to the place or the people, and it's really hard. It's like harder to have a connection with somewhere if you're only there for a little while.
Absolutely, that's true. I think at least I feel sometimes I've been in a country for like a year, and then I'm just about to start to understand how everything works and build, stronger friendships because people are staying. So yeah, definitely there's there's quite some differences between the fast traveling and the trying to slow it down. Be mindful.
Yes, be mindful. I like it. There you go. Look at that.
See, just one conversation.
We got you turned.
That's all you need. Everybody get in one conversation with these guys, and that does the trick. You'll be wiser and stronger. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I really I would talk for hours. That's why, we should have a drink that we can have longer talks.
We'll make that happen.
I like that definitely. In fact, obviously I'm gonna start following you everywhere, but I would like other people to follow you and know where they can find you. So before leaving us, can you tell us where people can find you, how people can contact you, anything you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to find the podcast, just search for Forever Break anywhere that you find it on all the major platforms.
Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts.
She has it rehearsed. And then
like an ad.
I always forget them. So.
In terms of our social media, you can find Lianne on Instagram at Larney93, and then I am Corey, Corey OFE.
And we also have Instagram for the Forever Break brand as well. So that's just Forever Break.
Yep.
On
So
Instagram.
check us out anywhere of those, and keep up with us. We're doing a little bit of throwing a little bit of an extra wrench into the fight, if you will, because we're bringing our dog with us over to the UK, which is proving to be quite the adventure in itself. So she's amazing.
Her flight ticket costs more than both of ours combined.
We're very
oh God, I didn't know that.
She's 18 pounds as well.
we can't leave her again, Robin, because we left her for 7 months last winter, and I'm pretty sure that she's
still angry
went
about
through
it.
the process of us probably dying, and then she looked at us like we were ghosts for the first couple of weeks when we got back, and we just can't do it to her again. So we're going to take her.
Oh my God. Yes, do it. Oh, the doggo. So cute. Yeah. You're doing a good deed. You're doing a good deed. Also, she probably would be, forever angry at you. So probably you don't want that either.
Exactly. It's selfish, really.
Yeah. And if you have heard any snoring on our end of the recording, listener, that's because she's next to us, and she's been in a nice deep coma.
Oh no. Maybe I'll hear it when I listen to the interview again.
I was going to say, she likes your accent as well. She likes your voice, so she must find it soothing too.
Thank you. Well, she's welcome to Canada too, okay? I'm saying this, I'm welcoming everybody to Canada. Yeah.
There you go, right? You hear that, Justin Trudeau? Open the borders, we're welcome. Robin said.
Special VIP. No, but guys, really, I've already followed you while you were saying. I've followed the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Robin. This was so much fun. We'll talk to you again soon, I hope.
Yeah, really enjoyed that conversation, and thank you for having us again. It was awesome.
Lovely to have you guys. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us.
Oh, yes.
And everybody, go follow them. Follow their journey.
Thank
Bye.
you.